Hey everybody, it's Doc. Let's talk for just a minute. And at first, I want to start by talking about Dan Slott. And Dan Slott has come out and said that Marvel's new theme is Dan Buckley, the publisher, came out maybe a year ago and said that everything was going to get about 10 issues for a run. Unless it was selling gangbusters, then it would not make it past issue 10. Now Dan Slott has come out and said that if retailers slash fans don't come out and support a book past issue 1, so issue 2, issue 3, issue 4, all those sales have to be strong and they have to be getting stronger every single issue. If that doesn't happen, books are going to get canceled by issue 5. My question is this. It used to, back in the late 80s, early 90s, when I started reading comics, it was a long form storytelling idea. Okay, we're going to tell one story from Peter Parker's perspective on Amazing Spider-Man, and we're going to do it for 100 issues. We're going to do it for 375 issues. We're going to do it for 500 issues. It's almost 1,000 issues, although they have taken breaks and made different volumes and things like that. It's supposed to be one contiguous story that just continues to roll on. If you can only plan for 5 issues, that's a mini-series. That's not even a true series, okay? So you've got Dan Slott, who wrote the most Amazing Spider-Man issues ever. And he's come pretty much crawling back to Marvel from working at DC and working on the Superman books. He's not the draw that he used to be. I really thought he did an amazing job, no pun intended, on Amazing Spider-Man. But when he left that title, he had multiple AAA opportunities to go out there and do some really, really great stuff. And he didn't. He fumbled the ball. He had Iron Man, he had Fantastic Four, and it was like he had pretty much, pardon the expression, blown his wad on that one book. He had given everything to Spider-Man, and in the end, he didn't have anything left to write for anything else. So now he's over at DC, and he's writing Superman Unlimited, which is not Action Comics. It's not Superman. It's not one of the top tier grade AAA Superman books. Instead, it's down in the lower echelon. So Dan Slott has to understand that he's not as relevant as he used to be. Okay? So he's out there begging, just like everybody else, begging to keep those numbers up so that his title lasts past 5, 6, 7 issues. The point I was trying to get back to overall about the health of the comic book industry is, as a writer myself, I don't want to tell a complete story in 5 issues and then go home. I want to work on a particular character, a particular title, with a particular artist for 2 or 3 years, something like that. You can't provide the type of character development, character growth that these characters not only need to stay relevant, but deserve. These characters have been around for 60 years now, 60 plus years. And some of the DC characters have been around for 80 plus years. They deserve people who are going to come in and tell more than just, oh, well, let me tell my 4-part story and then we're done. You need to hire creators that are interested in doing 2, 3, 4-year runs on a character so that arc is not just a hop and a skip, but instead it's an overarching positive change for the character. The villains that they face, the struggles that they face, as far as Marvel being the world outside your window. If they don't have enough money to pay the light bill, if the water gets turned off, if they have a frozen pipe in the wintertime. Those are the kind of things that not only elevate the characters that Marvel has in their repertoire, but it also helps them relate to the people that are reading the books. And you can't have a truly growth incentive story arc that's only 4 to 5 issues long. And then that title gets canceled and it's gone. Why? What is the purpose of that? I really, really enjoyed the first issue of the New Century miniseries, but it's only 4 issues long. Okay, so I hope that Paul Jenkins can stretch that out into a second miniseries or possibly a third miniseries so that we can get a total of 12 to 15 to 20 issues to not just tell this one story he wants to tell, but I'm sure that he has more of an overarching story that he wants to get across. Okay? So what are your thoughts on this? If you've been reading comics a long time, don't you think that Marvel, DC, Oni Press, Image, any of the companies, don't you think they need to have a better game plan as to what is going to happen with these characters, rather than just saying, oh, well, we're going to, let writer X and artist Z come on here and they're going to tell their 4-issue stories and then they're done. And then now we're going to move on to volume 11 of Amazing Spider-Man. And then somebody else is going to come in and do a 6-parter. And then it's going to be volume 12. No, it's not a seasonal thing. Comics are not meant to be seasonal. It's not like a TV show. You don't take a break after you get, 8 issues in the can and you're supposed to do a 12-issue series. I'm looking at you, James Tynion, and other people that are doing too many titles at once. You've got to work on finishing something before you move on to something else. I remember Neil Gaiman talking on the Masterclass a couple years ago when I started watching it, and he said that at some point in his career he decided and realized that if he was ever going to grow as a writer, he couldn't just start something that's fantastic and then, write 3 pages on it and then move on to something else. He had to start finishing the things that he began. And that's what's important about these characters. If you had just the first part of Emerald Twilight and then 49 never came, there's no resolution. There's no chance for growth. You've destroyed a character in issue 48, started him down a path of descent, a path of destruction that we will never see part 2 or part 3 of. Why? Why would you do that? Why would you take a character that is supposed to be important not only to the readers, but to you as a publisher, as an editor? Why would you go that route to try to destroy the industry? And I will say that. I will go that far to say that it feels like they're trying to destroy the industry because it's the house of unideas now. They don't want to tell these great stories about these characters. They want to use them as mines, and so that they can send lemmings down in there to mine out the ore. The only problem is nobody's buying anymore. There's no mines because people have wised up and they said, if I can go and do the same thing with my own character that Alan Moore and Steve Bissett and John Totleben did with Swamp Thing 40 years ago, why would I give it to DC? Why would I let them own the property, own the story, own the characters, and then I get nothing as far as royalties? My family doesn't get protected. I don't have insurance. I don't have all the things that I need to survive. But hey, I've given DC a really great story with this character. That's not good enough anymore. That's not good enough to bring the Alan Moores in, to bring the Grant Morrisons, to bring the Dave Michelinis, and rest in peace, Peter David. It's not enough to bring them in anymore because Roger Stern does not want to come back and do 3 issues on Amazing Spider-Man and then call that volume 17. He doesn't want to do that. He loves the character enough and respects the character enough to come out there and work on the character for a year or 2 years to have character development and growth. So that's just my 2 cents. What do you guys think about Dan Slott's comments? What do you think about Dan Slott? What do you think about this new, 5 and we're done rule at Marvel? How does it affect the industry, and how does it affect you as a collector? Let's talk about it down in the comments, guys. Have a great night.